Welcome to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and this podcast is your guide to start creating a lifestyle by design. From entrepreneurship, money and finance, taxes and residencies, and everything in between, this show highlights the nuances of a true global citizen lifestyle. Let's dive in. Angie, welcome to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. I am very much so looking forward to our conversation today. But before we dive in, I would love to hear a little bit more about you, yourself, your journey, your story, and how you got to where you are today.
I pretty much started out in the normal way. You know, you think you have to pick a major and decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, and then you go kind of figure out how to do it. And then you do it. And that's what you do until you're like 65-ish years old. And then you stop doing it. And then maybe you go on a cruise. So that was the general life path. And my major was PR, and I worked in PR for almost a decade and was, loved it, but also was like, is this it? Is this really what I'm doing for the rest of my life? Am I really not having a lot of time for myself? Am I really putting my health on the line for this job? And I loved the job. So it was a very difficult decision to make. But when I turned 29, I had made this decision that I was going to spend my 29th year traveling the world by myself. And I was going to quit my job and do that whole thing. And this was back in 2010. I quit my job in the end of 2010 and then traveled all of 2011. And with no intention other than I need a break, and this is my only opportunity to travel because, in my 30s, I have to grow up and be serious about stuff. And I had all these crazy ideas about what life needed to be like and when. And traveling kind of blew all that up in a really good way. And then, so now all these years later, 13 plus years later, I am traveling professionally. I make content for a living and help other people travel. So I became an accidental entrepreneur. It was definitely not anything that was going to make me money when I started. It was like, oh my gosh, a blog is fun. Look, I saw a giraffe and yay. And everybody was excited about it. And the only people I had to tell was my blog and Facebook and Twitter. And that was it. It was just really free flowing. There was no SEO. There was no monetizing. So yeah, that's how it all got started.
Wow. Okay. So interesting. I'm very interested to dive into because you were one of the first on the scene. I'm curious really what that looked like and how you've seen the landscape definitely change over the years.
Gosh, I always say I feel like I change careers every 18 months because it's always different. Like I said, when I started, there was no SEO. There was no optimizing anything. I didn't care and nobody cared. It was just like, I'm going to tell a story. And if you want to come along, great. It wasn't about followers. Like we didn't have that. It was so fun and free. And so it has grown into obviously my entire business life, which, like I said, this was not my idea. When I was younger, I was like, I'm just going to go work and somebody else can deal with the taxes. And I didn't want all that kind of, I don't know, admin that comes with working for yourself because it really is a lot. And I didn't think that I wanted that. But then having worked in corporate, I was like, well, I also don't want to work for anyone else. So like, what am I giving up? Am I going to do all my own admin or am I going to work for somebody else and make somebody else a ton of money while I struggle to put money in a 401k? So that's kind of how it all worked out. And then, yeah, now everything is optimized. Every piece of content goes on 12 different platforms for different audiences. One thing I really don't enjoy about the whole thing is that my value as like in my job and my success depends on A, the algorithms, which I have no control over, and B, if other people press like. And sometimes people are into that. Sometimes people just watch and would never like anything no matter what. So there's a lot of dealing and waiting with the emotions that kind of comes with being a creator because your value is kind of in what you provide in likes and in engagement. So it's kind of a sticky, weird place to be in, especially because I kind of waded into all of it accidentally, but the actual creating part of it is so great. Like the fact that I can wake up and decide what I want to make pretty much every day is the kind of freedom I always wanted when I worked in corporate. And just you don't have that when you've got clients, and you don't really have that freedom. So, there's give and take with it, but like you said, it has changed so much since the beginning, since the early days.
I'm so curious, you mentioning that last part there at the end. I'm curious where your content ideas come from. Are you traveling all the time in order to make this content? What does that look like? And then piggybacking off of that, and this is going to look different every day, but what does a typical day look like for you? Is it traveling? Is it brainstorming content ideas and feeling like you're trapped on your computer? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, every day is different, like so different. So this week I'm doing I'm recording podcasts like you cannot imagine. Like recording for other people's podcasts, recording for my personal one, recording for Traveling with AAA, which I host. Just go with podcasts and interviews and emails and actioning things that I didn't get to action the past 10 days when I was out of town speaking at a conference. And then next week I'm on book tour. And then next week I come home and try to clean up the mess that is around. And then I'm off to Sweden. So I will say it sounds like I travel a lot. I don't usually travel that much anymore. And part of the reason for that is because I can take a week-long trip and make enough content because there are so many platforms. I can make that content last forever and ever. Where it used to be, I was perpetually traveling and it was just churn, churn, churn. Now for me, it's more quality over quantity. And as much as I would like to play Instagram's games of you have to post every day and you have to do this and you have to do it this way, like I don't have time for that anymore. So best I can do is be authentic to me and create content when I want to for the people that I know will like it, and then just hope for the best that they find it. But yeah, just traveling all the time it used to be sustainable in 2012, 2013, that when we were all first getting started and figuring it out. Now people who are travel content creators, unless you have a huge team around you, or maybe like a spouse or something that goes with you and helps with some of the stuff, it is not a thing you can do by yourself. It's really not. And I'm amazed at how people make it look like, oh, I'm just cruising around by myself doing it. But people have teams. There's people doing all their Instagram stories, and that's not a bad thing. It's just I kind of want to do it myself, and that's not my next level for me. So it's so personal how you run your business if you're a content creator. And every conference I go to, I look out at the audience and I'm like, if there's 500 people in the audience, that's 500 different ways to make money. That's 500 different sets of priorities and definitions of what wealth and success is. So it's different for everybody. And the best that I can do as a creator is say that it's worth it to go out and find out what works for you. But it
Yeah.
might not be the way I do things.
I love that. I think that's so important. Thank you for sharing that. So I have so many questions. I'm typing away as you're speaking. But I'm curious what some of your tips are when you mention, you'll go away for 1 week and then that's going to be content for the next however long. So what does that look like? Do you pre-plan like these are the shots that I want? This is the story that I want to tell. And then how do you make that last for so long on all of these different platforms?
Ugh. Well, usually if I'm doing a campaign with a destination, I'll have an idea of what they're looking for, who they're trying to reach, what their angles are. And so I will plan out shots and make sure I get that content to satisfy whatever our partnership requirements are. But then I'm also trying to get just every kind of B-roll. I'm just hoping, remembering to have my phone out all the time, just catching video, because you never know when you're going to be able to, a year later, hop on a trend and throw back to that trip you went on a year ago to the Bahamas. So I like to take my clients with me forever. So yeah, sure, I do a campaign in the Bahamas and then it's not over when I'm done with the content that I have promised them. It is going to continue until I run out of content or until they change the format. And I have to go back and get video, because we started out horizontal and then we went to vertical, and now horizontal is kind of having a comeback. So that is really my big limitation, is not having fresh stuff. So I've started kind of going back to the same places because I want to refresh the blog content with, this hotel is still open, or this restaurant closed, but you can go to this one instead. And that's a real challenge, to be able to go to new places and old places. And really, the algorithms prefer you to be like a one hit wonder. They want you to be in charge of one thing. So they want the girl who knows about the Bahamas, and that's it. They don't want the girl who knows about the Bahamas and then goes to Sweden and then talks about her dog. And so there's that whole thing, like, am I a person or am I a brand? And because I started so long ago, I'm a person. And I think if you start today, you have to start with brand in mind and what that niche is. So that's another thing that makes it very, very different. I don't know if that answered your question or if I just went on an absolute tangent, but here we are.
No, that was great. Really interesting to hear your first person insights being in this industry every single day. Let's talk about the platforms quickly, and don't get stressed about this conversation because I know there's so many platforms and it can be so overwhelming. But where have you found the most success? Are you doing vertical and horizontal? What platforms are you on? Talk to me about all of that.
I think for me, I don't have consistent success on just one platform. The common thread for me throughout my content career has been my blog. So that is always the foundation that I go back to. And that's where we start with everything. It's a big comprehensive blog post about what I did, where I went, what you can do, what some of the tours are, where you can stay. And I like to give that information on the blog, which is free, and people can find that whatever they're looking for. They're not necessarily even followers of mine on Instagram, right? They're just people finding me through search. So that's great. And that is the foundation. And then I feel like social media is just, we're going to hope for the best and see what happens. I can spend 12 hours on a reel for Instagram, and Instagram will show it to 200 people out of 90,000, which is mind-boggling that you can put in that much effort and something can be good, and then people still don't get to see it, and not because of you. So, then I'll put it on TikTok and then it'll get 10,000 views. So where I don't even have that many followers. So it's such a confusing thing to try and game, because you can't really game it. You might be able to figure it out for a little while. And I feel like that's what I've done throughout my career. I figured it out and then they change it. And then I figured it out and then they change it. And so, just kind of making it work. But like I said, the blog is the foundation. The blog is the property I own, and my newsletter similarly. But I think I enjoy doing video content and reels and snackable, digestible things that people can see, oh, wow, that looks like a fun thing I could do. And then I point them to my website. Like, if you want to know more about swimming with the pigs, here's your 30-second video to whet your appetite. But if you really need to know some stuff, then go to my blog, and that's where all the info is. So yeah, I think video I enjoy doing, but it is a lot of work. Especially travel. I really want to be helpful, and I want to provide a lot of information. I think that's my PR background. I'm thinking, like, how do we hit all the points, and how do we do this in a creative? I'm thinking of all the things, and really I could just like fall down and put it up and I'll get 1 million views, it's that can be a little bit frustrating, but you never know what's going to hit. And so I think I just keep trying. I just keep showing up and seeing what happens. And then I'm on Threads, which is a whole different kind of audience, is a whole different thing that I talk about. Threads is just wild. And Twitter, what is even going on? Or X, what's even going on over there? I don't know. Facebook, I have a whole different audience there. I went viral with a video I put up, and in the caption, it was talking about the bison in Yellowstone. But in the audio of the video, I said buffalo. And so people came for me because obviously I'm an idiot and I'm dumbing down America And so that was fun. That was a fun thing to go viral for. Um, and Facebook has its own audience. So you're really thinking about that as you create, but one trip can make a lot of content for all the different platforms. And then you're just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks,
We're taking a quick break because we've been getting such great positive feedback on our new resource, the top 5 easiest residencies to obtain now. The link is in the show notes to grab your copy of this resource while it's still publicly available. You can expect to get more familiar with the top 5 easiest residency programs around the world, how you can obtain them, along with the $258 residency that you can get online today. And spoiler, this residency is great for crypto exchanges and KYC. Link is below to grab the guide, and let's get back into the episode. That's social media for you these days, honestly. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned about the bison, because I find when you make, and my partner is a content creator, so I really see it firsthand, but when you make some sort of, even on purpose, mistake or slip of the word, it can unfortunately go viral so much easier because all of the comments and all of that, and then it just gets pushed. You want to say something?
It's actually a strategy that works, which I hate it. Like, I didn't do it on purpose to make people angry, but I saw a video yesterday and the guy was pronouncing tzatziki. It was like he just pronounced it so phonetically and people were losing their minds. And the average person does not know about these strategies and about engagement. And like when you interact with content about Taylor Swift, but you hate Taylor Swift, you're just getting more Taylor Swift in your feed. And I think the average person doesn't realize just how manipulative it all kind of is. So, that's the fun of being a content creator. Like, how do you show up authentically and not manipulate? But that's marketing, right? Like, the whole point of marketing and PR is to be like, here's something that's wrong with you. Here's how we can help for $9.99. You didn't even know that was wrong with you before. And so this is just, social media is just kind of an extension of that. But it's everybody doing it all the time. So it's just like drinking from a fire hose.
I totally agree. And it's so wild because I will see, so my biggest platform is YouTube, and I will see creators on there who, I really don't agree with what they're saying and the way they're saying it and their perspective. And then sometimes, you really have to take a step back. And because I'm also in this world, it's like, okay, there's this may be their viewpoint, but there's also a reason why it's being played up to this degree.
Yes.
Gotta love the strategies. So on that topic, really quickly, is there any other hack strategies that you have found that work in terms of engagement, in terms of really getting more people into your audience, or just getting shown to more people? Or is it, like you said, sometimes just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what works?
There's a lot of spaghetti at the wall. I also feel like I'm happy with the audience I have, and I'm not super hung up on getting more people. Like, I love when a reel does well and people find me that way. That's gratifying that it can be organic that way. Usually if I'm doing a campaign with a brand or with a destination, I will put some ad dollars behind whatever the content is and make sure that it gets seen by the people that they want to see it. So not just whoever Meta decides they want to show it to that day, but I'll make sure that, say it's a campaign with Franklin, Tennessee, I'll make sure their drive markets and get to see that, and people who are interested in travel. And so I do appreciate that about Meta, that you can target some ads. I don't know how effective it is at the end of the day, because sometimes all the metrics you get are views. And I don't know if someone's going to book a trip because of the views, but I feel like as a creator, it's on me to make sure the right people get to see it. And sometimes the only way you can do that is by putting some money behind it and targeting it to the right people. So I usually take 5 to 10% of whatever I get paid and try to do some ads. I feel like it's the right thing to do, even though it's not my fault if Instagram doesn't show my stuff to people. But it feels right to me to be able to do some extra targeting. But Yeah, again, you don't know what you're doing all the time, and I don't go into the year knowing what my strategy is going to be and where I'm going. For me, I'm so much more of a fly by the seat of my pants creator than it probably looks like. Um, but truly, most Decembers, I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to get money this year, and
The
then it works out.
entrepreneurial life.
Right. And that's fully what it is. And I'm like, man, this is scary. And I'm like, I've been doing this for over a decade. It's going to be fine. We're going to figure it out. And it does. Things show up, and um there's always some new income stream. There's always some new project. You just have to be able to discern what is a good use of your time and what is just a waste. And I think that comes with doing it for a long time. But yeah, you can't waste your time on little things, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so on that topic, let's
Yeah.
dive into your streams of income as a
Okay.
content creator. I know everyone listening is going to be very curious what that looks like, because I think there's kind of two groups of people from what I've seen: the people who we previously spoke about who don't really realize that social media can be a business. And then there's the people on the complete other side where it's like, yes, you can make money and brands and this and that. So talk to me about what your streams of income look like. And then I'm also curious, where they come from you, for you, with you saying at the end of the year, it's like, okay, let's see what happens this year, like see what pops up. So I'm curious how that comes into your realm.
So I have some things that are more consistent than others. So like I said, my blog, I have ads on my blog and I have affiliates on my blog. So that's one kind of consistent way that money comes in. So there's that. Then I have campaigns, and that is working with a brand or a destination to make content for them, either that they can use in their marketing on their own or that I put on my stuff or some mix. And that's everything from my sister and I have a full length like travel show that we put on YouTube, which we don't do all the time because it truly is so much work, but it's fun and we like to do it. So when we can, we do our full length show. We just started a podcast, which we're starting to monetize. And that's so fun. I can't believe I didn't know how much fun podcasting was until probably July of last year. And now I'm all about it. And on that note, I'm a host of a AAA travel podcast. So that's an income stream. What else? Freelance writing. Every so often, I'll get a commission for an article and I'll write for a magazine or a newspaper or whatever. Speaking. Every so often, I'll get an invite to come speak at a conference or a corporate event, and then I'll come do my travel fun, haha, everything's great speech. So fun, and I do like doing that, but I don't do it as much as I could. And then what else? What am I forgetting? I did campaigns, affiliates, ads. Oh, I just wrote a book. Oh yeah, duh. It's kind of a big one. I just wrote a book. It just came out last month. And so now author is another part of my income stream. So it's literally a lot of little bits and pieces everywhere. And every single year since I've started, it's been a different mix up, right? Some years campaigns are 70%. Some years campaigns are 10%. And it just, it's whatever I have time to accept, because what I don't want to do and what is very hard for me not to do is to fall into the trap of overwork and saying yes to everything that comes my way, because money is great, right? Like, who doesn't want to put more money in the bank and be able to pay bills? But there's this constant balance of, if I do that, if I say yes to that, what am I saying no to? Like, what will I not have time for? And I have my own things that I want to do. I can't write books if I'm constantly doing campaigns and traveling, even though I like doing that, and even though I like paying the bills. So there's just a constant mental balancing and rebalancing of things and how it goes. But yeah, there's as many income streams as you can imagine. And for somebody who started out with a corporate job and then with a dinky little blog, to then have all these things going at all times, it's a dream come true, a dream that I didn't have though. Like I didn't even know that this was going to be possible when I got started. And so I kind of love it. And I love getting an email that's like, we have this cool opportunity. Would you be interested? And then I'm like, do I have time? Do I have desire? Do I really, really want to do this? And is the money right? Because that's another thing that I think a lot of creators don't talk about is how much work goes into one campaign, because it didn't used to be like that. So say I go somewhere for 4 days on a campaign. That's not 4 days of work. That's 4 weeks of work. That's the planning in advance. That's the actually being there and working the whole time that you're there. And then it's coming home and making all that content. So there's this misconception like, oh, you get paid to travel and you just fly to Mexico and sit there and drink a drink. No, gosh, I wish it was that easy. And it kind of used to be. And then the more platforms get in, because you're thinking, okay, I have to get this shot, but I have to get it on these different cameras and I have to get it from these different angles. And I mean, you're producing this whole thing and then taking notes and then also trying to have an experience, you know? I think anytime you do adventure travel, you're like, how am I going to video this in a way that makes sense? How am I going to capture this? I'm rappelling off something, you know, you're rappelling down the waterfall. I'm like, how am I going to get this in a way that is valuable and that I can make a video out of it that is helpful to help somebody else do it? But you're also rappelling down a waterfall, which is not separate from you as a human being and your human feelings. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And it's always more than just being in on the location. So yeah, it's absolutely wild. And like I said, every single day is different. So some days I'm rappelling off a waterfall. Some days I'm at my computer in my pajamas the entire day until my husband comes home from work and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I just came in to answer an email and I've been sitting here for 8 hours, you know, and I like can't move and I'm all, so it's not necessarily as glamorous as it looks, but because campaigns take so much longer to execute than they ever did at the beginning, that limits the amount of campaigns that you can do. And the money hasn't changed much. So if we're getting paid, just as an example, let's say $5,000 for a campaign, that's what we were getting paid in 2017. We're getting paid that now, but it also has to go on TikTok and it also has to be chopped up into YouTube shorts. And it also has to be, you know, then there has to be a podcast about it and and then the newsletter and then another newsletter. And there's just so many things that go into it. So that's one good reason to have a team, frankly, but another reason to understand why maybe people don't travel as much as they used to in content, in the content world. It's a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's really interesting to hear your behind the scenes experience in that because people just see the glamorous waterfall and they're like, oh, Angie went to a waterfall and she had fun and she swam with the penguins and now she's home and she's relaxing. And it's like, that is not the reality.
Not really. It's funny. I thought leaving my stressful New York City corporate PR job would turn me into this like Zen, eat, pray, love kind of gal. And it didn't, because I'm the problem. You know, like it's me. I'm the one who wants to say yes to everything and kind of overestimates my ability to actually do everything. But now that I've done it for so long and I know how much work, I know how long it's going to take me to do a reel. I am not that girl that can sling up a reel in an hour. I just can't do it. I don't know if other people are better at that, but it takes me a long time to put out content that I'm proud of. And so, yeah, it really does take a lot of time, more than I would have thought, and a lot of planning. It takes a lot of planning to look this carefree, you know? It
So,
does.
no, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think more people are starting to realize that that's the reality, but still not everybody.
Yeah.
I'm curious, speaking on the entrepreneurial side of the business, if you do have a team, what that looks like in terms of support and really just the behind the scenes of the business of content creation.
You know, it's a lot of planning, scheduling your calendar out however far in advance. And then I've learned a lot about factoring in extra time because I cannot I think, oh, yes, I'm going to put a reel up in 1 hour. And then I'm going to schedule every other hour of the day for other things. And the reality is, that reel is going to take me 6 hours. And then I'm not going to get anything else done. So I just have all the movable blocks on my calendar. And the week never goes the way I think it's going to. But I have to make sure I leave a lot of time in there and buffer room, which is nice. Because when you're working with other people have lives too. And so my sister and I we'll say we're going to record on Friday, right? Yes. But then she calls and says, we're out looking at houses. This one came on the market and we just had to go look at it. So I can't record now. So that happens. Or somebody's having tech difficulties. And so we can't record the AAA podcast at the time we thought we were going to. So there's just a lot of flexibility that goes into it. And just being able to roll with the punches, which obviously travel teaches you that in such very good ways. But I don't really have a team. Because my work is so inconsistent, I found it hard to bring people on that can roll with that inconsistency. Because one day it might be making a reel, one day it might be organizing photos from a trip or editing something. And by the end, at the end of the day, I'm like, I could just do it myself before I explain it to someone else. And yes, it's more work for me. And yes, I would love to be able to have more free time to be creative and truly more free time to work on books. But I have not mastered hiring people yet. I pretty much everybody I've ever hired has just not worked out. And I don't know if that's because people want to be the creator and not the person behind the scenes of the creator, which I totally get. But and I think hiring younger folks, hiring like Gen Z, they want to be the creator. And so they want to come learn everything in like a month. And then they want to go do what you do. It's not quite that simple, but it's also not worth it for me to train people. And then they all don't hang out after a month because they feel like they've gotten what they wanted, or they feel like they didn't become Instagram famous as fast as they were told they were going to by courses and stuff. So I think as travel creators, as a whole, we've kind of sold this image that it's very easy to be a creator, get 1 million followers, and make a ton of money because it's just so easy. And all you have to do is travel a little bit and quit your job. And it's just so not that easy. And buy 10 courses, buy all these courses, do my mastermind. I know there's value in some of those, but some of that advice worked for one person once, and then they made a course out of it. And all of this content, like everybody who's a creator is so different that you can't replicate somebody else's journey and expect to have the same results, especially because their journey started 4 years ago or 8 years ago. And the rules were different. So they got all their followers and all their likes and all their popularity in a completely different system. So I don't know. It's very hard to work with anybody because it's just, like I said, it's so personal. Each person as a creator, it's so personal. So you can give advice and ideas, but it's not a one size fits all job at all. That's what's great about it. It's also what's terrible about it.
Are you a global citizen or digital nomad? One of the most difficult parts of this lifestyle is not being surrounded with a like-minded community. I've personally struggled with this, and most global citizens have as well. But now there's a simple solution. Fairytrail is the ultimate app for digital nomads, remote workers, and even van lifers. Whether you're a solo traveler, a couple, or a family, Fairytrail helps you connect with like-minded adventurers. 93% of the Fairytrail community are fully remote or aspiring to be. And for being a podcast listener, use the code WORKWEALTHTRAVEL for a free lifetime membership for a limited time. Download the Fairytrail app today on the App Store or Google Play Store and get connected with your like-minded community worldwide.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really appreciate you sharing that behind the scenes look of what that really looks like for you. And I am actually, it sounds like in a similar boat to you, where I have some freelancers and whatnot, but I had the biggest role was an editing position. And I realized that it took me almost the same amount of time, if not much
Yeah.
more time, to go
Yeah.
through the edits and then convey that to somebody
Yes.
versus if I just did like a very basic edit myself and it only takes 1 hour instead of
Yes.
4 hours. And I was just like, this is not worth the time or money paying somebody else.
It's not.
It's
Most of
tricky.
the time, it's really not. Unless you get some kind of amazing partner. And the majority of folks, I mean, they've got lives of their own too. So not only are you managing them, they've got stuff that comes up. So you thought you were going to get this article and it was going to be ready, and then it's not because something happened. And so then you have to do it yourself anyway. And then you're under the gun to get it done. And a big problem I had a couple years ago, I started a new website and I hired some freelancers to help me like get the content started. And come to find out, they were just copying and pasting stuff from tourism websites and then like using AI to write articles. And I was like, I don't need to pay you to do that. That's when I ultimately have to rewrite the article anyway, because I'm not putting garbage up on my website. And so a lot of it, I take a lot of responsibility because I want things done as good as I would do them. And is that really going to happen? No, because I'm particular. And so I might as well just do it myself. And I think that's probably a huge hole that lots of entrepreneurs fall into. But being that my product is basically me, I can't trust anybody else with the keys to that. It's different, I think, if you have a product and you can say, hey, go sell this product or go figure out how to manufacture or whatever. You find an expert to do that. There's nobody who's an expert in writing like me or creating video like me. So I think that's what people follow me for, is you're just going to get authentic Angie away, no matter what it is. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with hiring and outsourcing. It just hasn't worked for me thus far. I'm sure I could grow leaps and bounds, but again, it comes down to what is success to you. Success to me is not, I made 7 figures and I'm going to tell everybody about it. Like, I don't care. If I have money to pay my bills and feed my dogs and my husband and me and, like, and live the kind of life I want to, then that's enough. I don't need to keep going for more just because I can, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think that's a really important thing that I, as an entrepreneur, am always conscious of. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs aren't talking about this enough, where what does success look like to you? I don't need to make 8 figures a year and go public and like have this huge conglomerate. That is what some people want, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, same. And the earlier you can kind of figure out what your real goals are, not the expectations that are put on you, not the box that you kind of grew up in and what people expect of you. I did that for a long time. And I was like, so I did all the things and no, like, who cares? Nobody's opinion of me feeds me or, puts money in my bank account. So I don't know. It's better to just do something that fits your personality. I mean, people are wired so uniquely, and we cannot all work in an office. That's just the reality of it. People are not all designed for that for so many reasons, whether it's neurodivergence or, a health problem, like whatever it is, we're not all designed to sit at a desk all day. So, God bless the people who do, but I can't be that girl anymore. And I love working. I just don't love going into an office every day and not having like creative freedom. So I think the autonomy is something that was very important to me. And once I figured it out, it was like the light bulb went on. I was like, it's autonomy. It's not that I don't like working. It's not that I'm lazy because I don't want to work at the same company for 40 years. Like, that was an ideal passed down to me. Just like, you have no loyalty if you quit your job. And I'm like, they're so mean to me. Like, they're so mean to me. Why would I have loyalty? But truly, that was some of the stuff I was grappling with as a young 20-something with a job, and just like, you should be grateful you have a job. Well, but they're really abusive. So should I be? I don't know. And so that's given me so much perspective. Like, I don't want to go back to that. And so we're going to figure it out, whatever every year looks like. And even though I know it's going to be different every year, and some years I'm going to make more than other years, but I have my faith tells me that God will provide, and one step in front of the other, and just be a hard worker and good things will come.
That does sound quite manipulative. That's very interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Young 20-year-old like could just manipulate them. I'd be like, bye. Anyways, we could dive into so much more in this conversation. I know we could,
I
but
know.
I want to hear a little bit more, of course, about where people can find you online, but also about your new book that's coming out.
Yes. So my new book, let me see. I have it. Oh, I have it. There's my book. It's called Flirting with Disaster: True Travel Tales of Fear, Failure, and Faith. And it is the story of my year traveling around the world by myself in 2011, which just so happened to be the year of many, many natural disasters that seemingly followed me everywhere I went. It was the Arab Spring, it was earthquakes in Christchurch, epic flooding in Brisbane, just everywhere I went. Earthquake, Japanese tsunami, like you name it, it was happening while I was traveling. My family was already freaked out enough that I dared move to Atlanta and then move to New York and then traveled the world. Like everyone was just freaking out because and rightly so. I get about halfway through the book and I'm like, well, my mom was kind of right. This is insane. This world is nuts. But it's a fun story. There's highs and lows, and I wrote it kind of like a novel. So it's not just I went here and I did this, I went here. There's a plot, there's threads, and it's funny, and people are really enjoying it. And that's all I ever asked. All I could have ever dreamed of was that it would fall in the right hands and make people laugh while they were traveling, or while they were dreaming of traveling, or thinking about what their next step is in life. So yeah, it's my great honor that I got to write the book, and I'm really proud that I got to write the book I wanted, which I think a lot of authors kind of get bullied out of what they think their book is going to be. And I had a great team and great editors, and they were like, no, yeah, this is great. This is great. Do it your way. And I did, and I love it. And I can't believe I have a book on store shelves. It's still so emotional every time I walk into a bookstore, and it's just there, and it's next to people I idolize and admire and love. And I'm just like, how did this happen? How?
That's wild. That's so
It's
cool.
wild.
Congratulations. And I
Thank
definitely want
you.
to pick that up now because, I mean, 2011, that's before most people were traveling. That's
Yeah.
before a lot of what we see today was happening. And really, those
Yeah.
events that you mentioned in 2011, like we just saw those on the news, most of
Yeah.
us. And so it
Yeah.
would be really interesting to get your first person perspective, especially going from country to country and different
Yeah.
events unfolding. That sounds really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And so Instagram kind of came online while I was on that trip. So like midway through, seriously, I think I was in Greece, and I was like, wow, what is this? And it's me taking pictures of my feet at the pool and slapping a filter on it and a god awful frame, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
like, Instagram. And again, no, I had no plans to be on Instagram for the rest of my life doing it for a living, but you just experiment as things come. And yeah, but I wasn't out there doing it for the gram, which I think I was probably the last, in that last wave of travelers pre-gram who, I was blogging about it, but written stuff is so much different. I have so few pictures from that time because I had a camera with a memory card, and, I was trying to not use my whole memory card. And now I got a phone with picture. I got 40,000 pictures on my phone, and so many places I want to go back to because I'm like, I don't have vertical video of Kenya. I have to go back because they didn't get all that. And, I've got a book full of imagery, which is wonderful. But I do want to go back and get all that content for socials at some point.
Social rules the world. It rules our
I'm
lives. It
telling you.
really, really does. And I believe, as any, especially service-based entrepreneur, product is a little bit different, but you need to have some sort of content, and that needs to be, if you're an entrepreneur, that needs to be front of mind for you. How else are you going to get out there?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way to, I think, be successful in any field right now as an entrepreneur without a social media presence. And that said, even having a social media presence might not be enough because not everybody's good at it and not everybody can see it because literally everybody's out there. Every single person who's ever been on a trip is trying to be a content creator, and it's not possible for everybody to do the same thing at the same level of success. And I've been to a couple conferences lately, and some of the girls I've been consulting with, they're just like, it seems like it might not be as easy as they told us. And I'm like, yeah, it's really like, I'm just lucky that I started when I did, because if I started today, I would have no chance of breaking through with some of the amazing content that's out there. Like these youngsters who grew up with video, like a phone in their hand, and have been making amazing content since I was way too old to be thinking about that. It's phenomenal. And I would never be able to compete if I hadn't started so long ago and have all this authority on my website. So yeah, it depends when you start, where you start, who you are. So many, is there even a like a hole for the kind of content you need to create? Is there that opportunity because you're doing something different? I couldn't come out and be regular girl from the South who travels around the world and has no niche. Could not do that today and expect to make any money doing it. So yeah, it's definitely something that I hope the young up and coming entrepreneurs look at and try to find out, what is the next thing? Not what is this thing that people are doing now, but what's the next part of the wave, and how do you get up there and be a thought leader and a game changer, not somebody who just does what everybody did before you. Because I think you're always going to be struggling, because I'm struggling and I've been doing it since the beginning. Google makes us struggle. Instagram makes us struggle. It is not fun and games. I mean, it's more fun than working in a corporate job, but what's the next thing? Tell me what that is, and you go do that and be amazing at that.
I love that. I totally agree. So where can people find you online?
So I'm Angie Away, AWAY, on all the platforms, of course. My sister and I have our YouTube channel, and that's the Jet Sisters. And, angieaway.com is a good place to start. Sign up for my newsletter. There's a million ways to find me. So just, type in Angie Orth and 10,000 things will pop up, and you can just subscribe the way that works best for you. Because that seems to be how it works nowadays,
Yeah, I like that. There's so many places that you can find absolutely everybody online. So just whatever works best for you, whatever platform it is, if it's email, go sign up for that.
Whatever it is, reach out, because I love talking to people and giving people travel advice. Like that's my favorite thing to do. So feel free to reach out, say hey, talk about Taylor Swift lyrics with me, whatever. I'm into it. Let's do it.
You've just listened to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. If anything from this episode resonated with you, I would appreciate if you share this podcast on your socials. And of course, be sure to tag me. And don't forget to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for joining me on this global citizen journey, and I'll see you in the next episode.